Welcome, everybody, once again to another round of 32 casting. This time around, it is going to be TheMista on the blue. He's going to be playing French against iaguz, who's going to be playing Russ on the red. So iaguz is, of course, a StarCraft 2 player. He plays... I don't remember what he plays. But anyway, he's a fantastic Australian Age of Empire, StarCraft 2 player. God, I just cannot talk right now. And he's pretty good. So we're going to see what TheMista can do here. I casted a previous game from iaguz. He was playing Russ in that game as well. So this seems to be the civilization that he prefers for these matches. We're going to see if it is the civilization that brings him victory. He has a very difficult opponent at the moment. He has to go up against TheMista. And TheMista is, without a doubt, the most prolific player so far in Age of Empires 4. It is one of those things where, you just have to think that eventually something has to give, right? And TheMista has to find a player that is better than he is, but we just don't know it yet. And Russ has this important mechanic where you need to get the hunt, and we're going to be trying to check that as much as possible, see exactly what he's doing. So you can see that right now he's grabbing all of the wolves aggro, to bring it back to his base so that the wolves can be killed, and that way get the bounty from them. At the same time, TheMista is trying to do something similar. He is trying to gather all the sheep, because the sheep is also worth something. And he's trying to find all of these spots. You can see the deer has been killed here, deer has been killed here, deer has not been killed here. So that is a potential spot that TheMista will want to try to kill. Being killed here, probably by TheMista, to deny that, that bounty. So the first bounty has been met. 5% extra villagers food gathering rate, and the chemists generate a little bit of gold over 27 seconds. That's pretty good, but we're gonna see what happens. You can see here iaguz found this area, and now the two are trying to fight over it, just making sure that the Rust player doesn't get the bounty that he wants. And there we go. That is almost the second bounty for the Rust player. He is a little bit behind, like 50 or so points behind. Not ideal. But now we can see that TheMista is at 3 minutes, and he's just building his mill, his lumber mill, and getting his economy going. On the other hand, iaguz is building his golden gate. And that is immediately going to allow him to start building up the rest of his economy. He has a hunting cabin producing 18 gold per minute, and he's going to build another house right there. After this golden gate goes down, he is probably going to put down, I would imagine, one stable, and might go into a second production building if things require it, but we are not entirely sure. We're going to see what happens with that. And you can see then TheMista now getting his school of cavalry to be able to actually do something with that, and get some nice cavalry outside of that range. It is going to be problematic for TheMista to try and control the map here, because the Rust player can just wall off all of the places that he doesn't want to go. He can just protect his own spaces. So TheMista is a few seconds behind on his age-up timing. Behind in comparison to the Rust player, not necessarily because they are bad. And you can see the Rust is actually opening with a barracks. So that is going to be a bunch of spearmen that is going to be pouring out of that barracks. So iaguz is planning to do a little bit more of a defensive positioning, not necessarily to go aggressive on his opponent. I think that is pretty fair. We're gonna see what happens exactly there with these matches. So as soon as the School of Cavalry is over, I imagine the second military production building that we may see is an archery range. simply because the Rus don't get access to men at arms in Feudal Age. They have to wait until the Third Age, the Castle Age, to be able to build them. So getting archers out to be able to kill any of the spearmen that Egaus is gonna produce is gonna be pretty good, because otherwise you're gonna just be fighting against against spearmen with just cavalry, and like we saw last game, that is not the way to win it. Both players relatively close in terms of their score. Towns are now going down for our Rust player Egaus. He wants to boom out of all of this, and the town centers also provide a little bit more of a defense and a deterrent to opponents. So you can see here the Rust player Egaus has a pretty good idea of where the hunt is, and he'll probably be looking to just try here to avoid getting all of this food captured with a mill. But it seems like he's getting professional scouts. So right now, TheMista is grabbing all of these deer and bringing it back to his base. I think it would have been a little bit better to go and try to grab the spearmen from the other side of the map, like these places where Egaus might feel it's a little bit safer to go and do that. But either way, this is pretty good. And you can see that Egaus here with his spearmen is enough to deter a knight's push. More ship now to try and get that bounty up. So if we check on that bounty, 200 at the moment. So one of the earlier games that we saw of Egaus, he was already at 500 by the time of the 8-minute mark. So you can see that, economically he's been getting pushed behind because of that. He hasn't been able to actually get ahead with that bounty as much as he would have liked it. And a whole bunch of professional scouts now are just retrieving all of the carcasses from the deer that they find. So all of these are probably going to be picked up. All of this is probably going to be picked up, but at the moment they're just protecting it with a hunting cabin and a wooden fortress. So the winning condition here for our French player, TheMista, is just to try and produce more knights, potentially archers, as you can see here from the archery range. Forestry completely for Yao, so he's trying to build up economically. And you can see that now survival techniques is getting done by TheMista, mainly because he has those professional scouts, and he's going to be looking to gather food from those huntables, and that will give him a massive boost in terms of his food economy. So if we go at income per minute, you can see that TheMista right now is leading the food economy. And that makes a lot of sense because you can see all of this hunt is getting shoved right into the TC and getting produced. And to kind of help with that, for Gauss to be able to keep up with that production, he needs to get a second TC onto those berries, and he'll probably need other things as well, not just that. Pushing back now the raids, getting more houses. Only a barracks and a stable for Egaus at the moment, just getting those spearmen and a couple of early knights to defend himself with. And on the side of TheMista, he's just trying to deny as much as possible. You can see that, 220 now here, and he's going to be able, the scouts, I believe, should be able to pick up the boar and send them back. They might not. We'll have to see. But here you go. The last round of professional scouts that are going to be going on for TheMista. to try and grab all of that food. And you can see like the amount of food that is here. It's just a ton. So all of that food is going to be getting eaten by that TC over the span of the next few minutes. And that is going to fuel all of this raid. You can see that he's raiding literally on his front door for iaguz, just denying as much as possible. And now TheMista got his economic upgrades. He got forestry, he got wheelbarrow, he got chivalry as well, to make sure that he can keep up with what's happening in terms of the larger economy game. So the early knights and horsemen of iaguz are going to be trying to apply pressure here, but the royal knights are right there to deal more damage. One of the horsemen will likely go down, potentially go down. Oh, yes, one of the horsemen will go down in the fight. And now you can see things like Bloomery are getting completed. So TheMista is taking this time where not a lot is happening and where he doesn't need a big mass of units to primarily get those upgrades and even move up into the next stage. He's getting Guildhall right now. That is going to be a pretty nice passive income over time. And on the other side, we can see iaguz is trying to keep his economy afloat with more deer, and he doesn't have enough deer. You can see the 4 things here, but it's not going to be enough to fully sustain him. All of these berries are going to be off in just a second, and he's now building a blacksmith to try and get more and more economic upgrades for himself. He doesn't have wheelbarrow or survival techniques or professional scout, so all of those deer that he is getting access to are not really giving him a lot. And he now knows that TheMista is up into the next stage, that he's going to be able to build up these knights to be proper full knights. And that's exactly what's happening, just upgrading to veteran knights. And those archer ranges are also going to become veteran archers eventually at some point. And we're going to see that in the blacksmith now getting the next round of upgrades. First is the iron bloomery, I think, that provides him with more damage. He also has an upgrade for defenses, and he's getting another one for range defense. So the veteran knights are here. They are powerful. They deal a lot of damage, and they're ready to rock. Up here you can see the archers are also moving forward. I wonder if we'll see the upgrade come in at some point. But these horsemen could do a lot of damage here to the archers. One goes down, a second one will likely go down in a moment. There he goes. Third one goes down, and just bleeding archers here for the foreseeable future as more and more horses try to capture this particular fight. Now the tides turn, and it is H3 versus H2. But iaguz is trying to go up a H. He is currently building the high trade house, which is the deer spawning landmark for the Rus. Basically gets a little bit of gold from the forest around it, plus spawns deer, so that it can be a good way to have a food source that is a little bit more reliable and a bit better than just straight up deer. And this is a massive raid. This is a total of 15 villagers with about 4 going down, so like 20 villagers in total. They're gonna be having a bad time, and they've lost it. That is a lot of villagers dead in a fight that TheMista will be happy with. I don't think TheMista is gonna be too sad to see a couple of his knights die here or anything like that. The archers are gonna be able to take out most of the spearmen. And sure, you might lose a couple of the archers, but you still have a strong fighting force, and you've repelled your opponents. You can see right here how they're trying to continually fight, and TheMista now pulling ahead with over 800 points difference in the score. it is one of those moments where you just call it, and man, that is so. This is gonna be game